Welcome to NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat, Baniel, where you will discover breakthrough possibilities for your life through the brain's power to change. We're so happy that you can join us in making the impossible possible.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast, NeuroMovement Revolution podcast. This is episode 20. And the topic of episode 20 is awareness, the ninth essential for positive brain change. Hi, Nat.
Hi, Neil. So great to be with you here again and with whoever is on the other end.
Absolutely.
It feels like it's been a long time, even though it's only 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened in those 2 weeks. I'll just read a little bit about our concept of awareness before Nat then launches into whatever she wants to say. So awareing is a term Anat coined for being that awareness is actually an action of generating awareness. It's to be knowledgeable about what you're doing, sensing, thinking, and experiencing at any given moment. Awareing is the opposite of automaticity and compulsion. It is a unique human capacity that can catapult us to remarkable heights. When you're aware, you are fully alive and present. Your brain is working at its highest level, noticing subtle nuances of what is going on around and within you, revealing options and potentials, greatly accelerating learning. You're enlivened and joyful, contributing to others, becoming more enlightened and fulfilling more and more your human destiny. That's a big topic.
It's huge. And it's been tackled by some of the best minds that I know of. And it's really a miraculous capacity, basically, to know that I know. To know that I'm moving my right hand, and to know that while I'm moving my right hand, I'm doing it because I'm doing a podcast and you just opened your eyes wider. I believe that, other animals have a certain degree of consciousness, varying degrees of consciousness. Anybody who's ever owned a dog or a cat, they're very different, but, animals, they have a very rich inner life, and they anticipate stuff and so on. I do think from just my humble experience in my own lifetime, and my understanding is that awareness, that to the degree that we have it, is, as far as I know, is unique to us. And there are books that try to say where does an awareness reside, and how what happens in the brain, or is it outside of the brain? Is it this? There are very, very different ways of tackling the question and the conversation. For me, the conversation or the interest is in awareness. I see it as an action, so something that we generate, just like intention. Just like a thought, just like a feeling, just like an emotion, just like movement, any kind of movement, because all of those things that I just mentioned are also can be understood as a form of movement. And awareness, by my experience, calls upon us to use our brains at its higher capacity. That means that it's sort of a bit of a circular concept, but when we guide ourselves to notice and become aware, the process of doing that gets us to use our brain at a higher level, at a higher quality of functioning. And at that quality of functioning, what I discovered, learning occurs. Or more, very often the learning, we go through a process, like in our movement lessons. I tell you, move your shoulders to the left, then move your right knee here, and then do this, and you're feeling what you feel as you move, but at a certain moment, it comes together for an outcome. And it comes together for an outcome. The awareness of the change makes a huge difference. So I coined awareness as the glue of learning. And it can really shorten the process of change and of progression remarkably. Again, think about it in terms of a child, right? Because we're talking here about children. And that the first time the child finds themselves sitting or finds themselves standing up, it's a big surprise for them, unless somebody's been, drilling them. But their own spontaneous getting up is a total surprise. And when that happens, they become aware. Children are very, very aware. They're not verbal. They don't go like, some of them, by the way, are. I remember a son of a friend of mine, around the age of 2 or 3, probably, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 3, it was very funny. He would walk forward and say, I'm walking forward. And then he'd walk backwards and say, I'm walking backwards. Children actually sometimes narrate their own activity. That means they narrate their awareness or what they're aware of. And when we apply awareness to a change, we facilitate for that to get integrated in the brain. When we do something, we become aware. Let's say if you're learning to play the piano, at the beginning, trying to play it right, that's previous awareness, and practicing a lot, repeating a lot is not necessarily the best way to get to your highest capacity, because you're grooving in repetition, lots of repetition. Think of it as the grooving in of what you already have that you like. Repetition is not the way to, an effective way to get to a new possibility. It's a very highly effective for grooving in and moving to the automatic realm, what you do. So if you're a pianist and you play, at a certain point, you want to be able to sit in front of an audience and play, and most of it comes out of your fingers, right? Your fingers know, so to speak, what to do. And then you can layer it with expression, with emotion, with the way in which you play that is unique to how you hear and want the music to sound. But on the way to learn to play, slowing down, varying, doing all the essentials and allowing the process to progress is the way to go. And then practicing or repetition on what you want to groove in. And sometimes it's in layers. You get to something like crawling, you groove that in. Then the process continues. The child comes up on the knees, can groove that in. But we don't want to groove too powerfully, because we don't want to automatize it and move it out of discovery, change, and awareness. So just to finish, and then we'll open it up for questions, awareness is an action. It's something that we choose to do. We know it exists, and we can choose to do it. And when we choose to do it and we start doing it more and more, we become better at awareing, just like intention. If we start, in their courses on applying intentionality, there's some teachers that was their life, contribution to all of us, is how to utilize intention intentionally and make it part of your life and empower your life so much that way. Awareness is another element like that. And now let's open it to questions. And I know we had I don't know, you do it, but let's make sure somebody's also emailed us a question. So we will, but you can start from here, and then we'll also make sure there's time to answer that question.
Okay, so first question is from Mary Schmidt, and another listener, Kathy. Hi, Kathy Shorma, said she's also interested in this same question. So, are you familiar with stiff person syndrome? My reaction is falling and being stiff. I take diazepam and gabapentin. That's from Mary. And then Kathy also adds, hello from Boulder. I'm interested in the earlier question about my 21-year-old daughter tensing up and often getting very rigid when being moved. I'm allowing her more space to move, but getting through the day, I'm constantly moving her. She has Rett syndrome.
I wish we could show them the video of the little girl. We just worked with it.
Kathy is actually coming to the new training. She was in our 5-day parent-child workshop in Boulder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a few-minute video, but I don't think we have the technology to show that.
Not this morning.
Not this morning. We can maybe do it next time. It'll be interesting. Maybe we do it when we're going to have a podcast with Dr. Michael Merzenek soon. So maybe we can even pop that up on the screen and say, what does he see?
Absolutely.
With the girl with Rett syndrome. So what's the question about the Rett syndrome? And
well, I mean, it was sparked by, are you familiar with stiff person syndrome? That's what Mary said. Her reaction is falling and being stiff, and she takes diazepam and gabapentin.
Is Mary falling, or is her child falling?
No, this is a question about Mary, and then Kathy was asking about her daughter who gets very rigid when she moves her.
Well, it has to be two separate. Separate. The fact that they end up being rigid is still two separate questions. So, so Mary, I am not familiar with stiff person syndrome. I have never heard this before. You know, are you familiar with this terminology?
I haven't heard that. No.
Maybe it's called also something else.
I could maybe Google it while we're talking.
Okay, so maybe I'll answer Kathy first, and you Google. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Kathy's question, just read it one more time.
My daughter tenses up. She's 21 years old and often gets very rigid when being moved. I'm allowing her more space to move, but to get through the day, I'm constantly moving her. She has Rett. Yeah.
Well, so Kathy, I mean, of course, for me, if I see the child and I at least see, if not put my hands on the child, I can give a much more reliable answer. My sense is, think of yourself for a moment, and everybody who's listening, think of yourself when, let's say you're a passenger in a car, and all of a sudden, the person who is driving is, I don't know, is like making abrupt, speeds up, slows down, or maybe the road is slippery, and there's less control of that you have a sense of lack of control of what's happening to your body. Whether you know it or not, you're stiffening up. So if your child, she has Rett syndrome, she's 21 years old now, right? Mm-hmm. Am I correct? And you need to move her. The thing that she's like in so maybe it's not as violent, but still she doesn't have a say. It happens to her. So think about yourself. I don't know, if you're going to get up and get a glass of water, you have the idea, you feel you're thirsty, you go like water, glass, kitchen, and then your muscles, your brain starts orienting you and organizing your muscles to get from here to the kitchen and to take the series of actions that get water into your glass, and then you drink. So there is a correlation between intention and action, and then you can regulate it. You can go slower, you can go faster, you can sing while you do it, you can call somebody on the phone, you get the point. I mean, and you can become aware that you're doing it and go like, oh my God, I haven't gotten up for the last 2 hours. I've been on my computer all this time. I mean, any number of things. It's all organized by you, generated by you. You have agency within yourself and a say in the outcome. Your daughter doesn't. If you have to move her, she doesn't. So I think the way to help facilitate, reduce the automatic defensive, biological reaction of stiffening up, which could also be part of her condition, by the way. The thing that you could do, of course, and you might, and sometimes in life you don't, all day you have to move her here, you have to do this, there's so many actions. But if you can train yourself to narrate, to give her the path of intention, by telling her what you're going to do, by doing it slow enough, and by starting and waiting a second. So it's like if you're going to sit her up, and now you're not going to do it 100% of the time, and you're not going to do it perfectly, and you're coming to the training, so you're actually going to learn to do it, which will help a lot. But you're going to, so you say, "Hi, hon, I'm getting closer to you because I am going now to help you sit up. And then I'm going to help you go to wherever you take her, wherever, for us to get lunch." And then you just touch her. You don't just vavoom do it. You touch her. You take a breath. It doesn't take long. You'll see if it works, she'll relax into your hands rather than tense. She will do what she can off the action of sitting up. And it might be tiny things in terms of us looking at it, but from her point of view, her whole brain is participating in joining you in doing it. Her joining might be just a minor shift of the head or a little something in the chest. I don't know what it will be, but that's what my suggestion is. Be her awareness, be her intention through language and through the timing and the slowing down and the responding to her response. Basically, you're going to learn to do that. But everybody can do it. Everybody, I mean, the degree to which you learn to do it as a practitioner is outside the range of what normal people do. I mean, you become an expert in connecting and dancing with the other person. But we all do it anyway, but you can do it to a greater degree. You don't have to be in a training program to do that. Okay.
And I remember Kathy's daughter, and I mean, she does move, but absolutely everything that you said there would be perfect.
Oh, right, because you know the child.
Yeah.
So I was on. You were
on. I mean, she moves. She actually
she
can actually stand up and I think walks independently, but absolutely everything you say can be translated to Kathy's experience.
And by the way, that will teach her to move better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she will get the feeling of that, and great.
So I actually read a little bit about the stiff person syndrome. It says it's a rare neurological disorder with features of an autoimmune disease characterized by fluctuating muscle rigidity in the trunk and limbs and heightened sensitivity to stimuli such as noise, touch, and emotional distress, which can set off muscle spasms. So, you know, they don't know what causes it, but it's frequently associated with other things such as diabetes, thyroiditis.
Well, you know,
it was Mary.
Mary. So I think you're talking about yourself. I'm not 100% clear if it's you or your child, but if it's you, I'm going to work on the assumption that it's you. I would recommend for you to try our movement work. And I think, I don't know your age, but what I'm going to recommend to you has nothing with the age. It has to do with the program. We have a 5-day vitality, anti-aging, and well-being workshop that has been videotaped. And it has, I think, 11 movement lessons. It has lectures. And it really guides the audience how to go about applying the essentials within the movement lessons. And I think that because of the description, we work a lot. We work with Parkinson's. We work with multiple sclerosis. We work with stroke, but stroke is a direct anyway. But what other diseases that impact movement we work with?
Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis.
Anyway, let's just take those two, and the disease, the illness is there. We're not like a cure. We're not like a medication that cures it. However, doing our work has enormous impact on the person. And if you think that you yourself fluctuate, I assume that there are times where you're more rigid and times that you're less rigid. The work can drive your system, your brain and your system towards being more on the side of not rigid. And then it can drive your system to learn to get more more not on the side. That means you'll experience less rigidity and then learn how to generate that. And then you experience less rigidity. We worked with metabolic syndrome with children. I've not worked with, actually we did work, this lady we worked with quite a few years that had, anyway, with metabolic syndrome. And one of them, her eyes were doing this and she couldn't move and she couldn't learn. And she's doing gymnastics now. Now, does she still need some of the work because she has had this early on after birth and it's still to some extent impacting her? But she's in school, she's learning, she's talking, she's wonderful. And she had horrible balance, she fell a lot. And so that's my recommendation to you. And if you have a practitioner, I don't know where you live, but you have a practitioner in your area, I think it was amazing if you go to see someone. Just let them know that I said to give you short lessons, because somebody with autoimmune diseases and degenerative diseases, it's very important to do short lessons. Short, because the lessons are gentle, so it feels like nothing happens, but it really impacts the brain. And if we exhaust the brain, it's counterproductive. So short. Yeah.
A question from Elena relating to awareing. Hello, what tools for awareing could be used for non-verbal kids on the spectrum?
Oh my God, it's so wonderful. I so love this question. Everything. First of all, the fact that the child is nonverbal should not be a deterrent at all. I don't know if he responds, he, she, I don't know, respond to language or not, but they respond. They feel stuff. They are alive. So you are the tool through which they will. And again, you can use your language, whether they, respond verbally or seem to comprehend or not necessarily for them, but for you. It will pace you, and you never know. I mean, sometimes a child, the autism acts as if they don't hear you, but it still goes inside. So there's nothing to lose. It's not done to fix. And just remember, awareness is dependent on, learning in general depends on perception of differences. So I don't know how old the child, by the way, when you ask questions about your child, if you put their age and you put their, gender and a little bit of information, it will be a little easier for me to respond. However, and next time when we start, we can inform them to do that, to guide them to do that. Let's say you put a shirt on and you say, you can say things, or you can even just put the shirt and just move it right and left and say, hey, shirt, I wonder what's going to happen with this shirt. You move it farther away. You take it closer to the child. You get you don't just do automatic. Dad tried to put it on his arm and so on, because by the way, automaticity is the death sentence on awareness, right? It's really opposing functionally. So they're both necessary, by the way. Automaticity is also very important. It's not like automaticity is bad, but it's not awareness. And it doesn't drive the same things awareness drives. So the thing is that you interact with the child in ways where you go like, oh, the shirt, I moved the shirt to here. Who's going to wear the shirt? Oh, maybe it's going to you. Or you touch the child and you say, I'm touching this arm. What am I touching? You can also be playful, and also depends on the age of the child. What am I touching? Am I touching your head? Is this your head? Oh, no, it has an elbow. Oh, head does not have an elbow. Well, that's your head. Okay, I'm touching your arm. And now, guess what I'm going to do? And you invite the awareness. You can't put awareness on anybody. You invite it. You become aware. You explicitize the process of awareness around the child and with the child. And let's see what happens. Okay.
Okay, a question from Anuradha Hari. We've seen her little boy. Has a diagnosis of apraxia of speech. Can't yet initiate speech other than his needs. During ABM sessions with Sharon O can communicate using a letterboard. Yesterday he expressed through spelling, I want to talk like everyone. How to help? And I think she says also he has autism. He's been with ABM 2 years. So they stopped his speech therapy 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it you need to talk with Sharon, you know, because she's working with him. But I'm going to talk about you again. Remember, we're talking about the parent here in relation to the child. And one of the things to do, by the way, so here I'm just saying it straight because of what you wrote, is to reassure the child and get him to feel safe. So first of all, it needs to be acknowledged. So you said, I really would like to talk. You say, thank you so much for telling me. This is wonderful. You want to talk. And you already, did you say can say something or not at all?
He spells with a letterboard.
Oh, yeah, but did she say that he does say any sounds or anything?
He can't initiate speech other than his needs.
Oh, well, then I would say, and sweetheart, you already talk. Talking about awareness, by the way. You say you already talk. And then you say to him how he talks. You see, it's so easy to fall into everything he's not doing yet and join him in the anxiety of what he's not doing and so on. That's why I asked, because I remembered something about him talking was in your question. You're already talking, sweetie. You tell me water. You tell me candy. I don't know, whatever he tells you. And you say, that's talking, sweetheart. You say to him that you're already doing that. You want to say other things too. Distinction, awareness. Can you spell to me one thing you want to say? You move it back to him, to his desire. And I don't know, I will see what I would do with him, but if he says something that can be translated to need, maybe associated with a word he already says. So he says, want to something, say, and make a simple word. Say, so let's say he says, I want to ask for banana. Simple example. You say, okay, say want ba. Don't say want banana and expect him to say the whole thing, and don't ask him to say thank you and please and all that nonsense that, you know, it's not nonsense later on, but parents try to get their kids to be polite before they can speak. And I go like, wait, stop. So you and that Sharon can work with you on that. But go from where he is. He is talking. He's not talking. He's just talking when he expresses his needs. So let's step on, use that, and I hope that already helps. And I would suggest you do it together with Sharon in a lesson first, because if you try it at home and it's sort of a little off, he's smart. He's going to shut down. He's going to get disappointed. So we don't want to disappoint the child, because disappointment inhibits learning and creates aversion. So we don't want disappointment. We have to end.
We have to end soon. I guess there's one thing I wanted to bring into this topic, which is just the pure fact of bringing awareness to something can make all the difference, whether it's like our becoming aware of something we're doing, or, you know, often we have children that are like doing things, behaviors that maybe people don't want them to be doing. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, the parents have told the kid, don't do this, and the kid's still doing it.
Yeah, because they don't know what this is.
And I remember I was giving a lesson to a 14-year-old boy on the spectrum, and he was grinding his teeth, which was something that his mother absolutely hated. And as he left one of my lessons, he ground his teeth, and I just happened to say to him, you're grinding your teeth. And he looked at me and he said, what's wrong with that? And I said, absolutely nothing. I just wanted you to know that you were doing it. And in the afternoon, he came back for a lesson, and his 8-year-old sister was like so excited. She said, we were in the car and he was grinding his teeth, and he stopped and he said, I'm grinding my teeth. And then he stopped grinding his teeth. And it's sort of, you know, often that happens so often in our lessons with these kids that, you know, it seems so simple, and yet it can be so effective, that just the pure action of bringing awareness to what you're doing. Because as you say, often these kids really, you know, it seems so obvious to us what they're doing, but they may be completely oblivious.
And I want to go back to the child that doesn't speak. He says, I want to speak. he might not know that what he is doing, speaking, asking his needs, is speaking. He is speaking. So let's not say, now he's not speaking a lot, or he's not speaking certain ways, but because awareness is a huge friend to intentionality and choice. I mean, it's like the best friend of choice and intentionality. And being around a human being that's not aware is, at least for me, extremely tough. And being around somebody that has profound awareness and really, but as an action, not as a, sitting on the top of a mountain, and which can be fine, but I'm talking in life. The people really, they're aware and they get what they do, and the awareness can give them information to choose how to be and how to proceed. And of course, for me, the most that could do it, that I was aware of and experienced in my life, is Dr. Feldenkrais. And it was like no one in the world interested was better being with for me than with him, because he had this awareness, and it was just so life-giving and so powerful. So be that for your child. Be the aware one with your child, and know that the fact that he says it doesn't mean he even knows he says it. And don't ask him to say more, say more. Ask him what he would like to say, and then see if you can simplify. But again, do it in the context first of a lesson, because I don't want you to mess it up. Okay, thank you.
And Anuradha, she says, thank you so much. She's getting to learn and enjoy from every podcast. And
the question we promised to read, we'll do it first thing in the next podcast.
Absolutely, we will.
Yeah, it's the next.
And Elena says, thank you very much for the answer to. And she has another question, which we will also address in the next podcast. So thank you very much.
And the next, the next half hour.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us for episode 20, I believe.
Yes.
Was it 20?
You are believing the right thing.
I am believing the right thing. And stay tuned.
Thank you for joining us on NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel. You will find all of our podcasts and additional resources on our website at www.anatbanielmethod.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. We look forward to seeing you online for our next NeuroMovement Revolution.